everybody. Whoa, I have not really talked yet this morning. It's 9 a.m. Welcome to Descriptive Prose workshop for the AWC 2024. So I have a form in the description that people have been submitting to. So I have compiled snippets into a Google Doc, and I read over them last night. I did get a couple more this morning, and made some notes. And then I will be going through and doing live inline edits with you all today. So yes, hello. I don't really know if we have time to do a bunch of hi's to everybody in chat, but hello, thank you. As the moderators have said, if you have a question, mark them with a Q and then a colon and then your question. So there will be a question and answer session at the end, and feel free to leave your own suggestions in the chat. I will be trying to keep an eye out for those as well. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get this party started. So let me scroll back up in the document. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so this one's from Joe. And yes. Okay, so I'm going to read the snippet aloud, and then I'll read my notes, and then we'll get doing some inline editing. I had my stuff down by the road when Heather this is a new adult of unknown genre. I had my stuff down by the road when Heather showed up in her old van. She hopped out and came around to help me load my gear. She was stunning. A short skirt showed off her excellent legs with Doc Marten boots covering her feet. She had on a tight t-shirt which didn't leave much to the imagination. She had changed her hair color to a bright purple and braided it so she looked like an elf from Lord of the Rings movies. Quit checking me out and let's go. I'm fucking freezing out here. You could have worn a coat, I said. If I did, you would have missed the view. She grinned at me. I'm so hot that my motherfucking fire truck's on fire, homie. I rolled my eyes. And I'm so sick I've got ambulances pulling me over and shit. I said, quoting the same Eminem song. We loaded the gear as quickly as we could. The cold nipped at us until we were done. I didn't take long to jump into the passenger seat. The venue was a 30-minute drive across the city, and Heather stepped on the gas as we hit the road. So yes, this is my notes. So overall, it does feel like a new adult. We got some description and a fun character leading into dialogue, leading into action, so it doesn't feel like a super long info dump. So yay. I like that they're finishing each other's quotes. It shows some camaraderie and some connection. So my notes are there is a lot of repetition in the first paragraph of starting with the word she. And what do her looks reveal about herself? It's nice to have the looks kind of be tied into their personality. So it's not just what do they look like, but it's this is what they look like, and it reveals this about how they are, or at least how they present themselves as. What does an elf braid look like from Lord of the Rings? A lot of people have not seen it. Unfortunately, flippin' love those movies. So we may need to add a little bit of a descriptor in with that. So does the main character want her to wear the coat because he doesn't want her to complain, or to cover up so that what he desires is hidden so he's less distracted? Move the action of the eye rolling to the next paragraph where he's speaking, so it's not what she's saying and then what he's doing in the same paragraph, but hook it back to where he's speaking. What type of gear? Is it DJ equipment, guitars and amps? What kind of stuff are we doing with? Is the city familiar? Is it well populated with traffic? Is Heather an unconventional driver as she is appearance-wise? And they seem to be just friends, but he's checking her out in the first paragraph. Is there supposed to be romantic tension between the two, and how far back does their history go? So those are my notes that we shall now be integrating into this lovely little snippet. So let me make sure I'm suggesting and not editing. Okay. So my first thought as well is it's an old van, but does it show some of her personality? Does she have artistic, like painterly stuff? Has she done the whole like D&D campaign on the side? Is it just an old rust bucket because that's what she can afford? So it would be nice to add a descriptor there. So unfortunately, this is all we know about them is this snippet. So let's make some stuff up and hope it fits. So I had my stuff down by the road. I'm assuming it's a paved asphalt road, so I'll leave it. If it's not, you should probably add a descriptor. When Heather showed up in her old, I don't know, is it her like van of conquest? So let's add some rusted so that it's, I'm going to make it ancient. And I cannot spell ever. Okay. So showed up in her ancient rusted van. So she hopped out and came around to help me load my gear. What kind of gear? So we have gear there, and we have gear down here. Rust bucket seems to fit her vibe. Let's do that. And her rust bucket of a van. So she hopped out and came around to help me load my gear. So I'm assuming this is heavy gear and stuff. And I'm going to make the executive decision that this is not just DJ, but like guitars and amps. So I'm assuming this main character is holding their guitars close to themselves in their heart. So they're precious guitars. So we have a little insight on how they feel about them. And bulky amps. She was stunning. So we have she hopped, she was stunning. I think I'll leave it for now because this one is so short. I like the alternating between long and short. So a short skirt showed off her excellent legs with Doc Marten boots covering her feet. If we want to add more tension, then we can add a little hint because this is new adult. So if this is more of a spicy romance, we could add something more like oh, come on. So a short skirt showed off her excellent legs that I wish I had felt wrapped around me at least once, with Doc Marten boots covering her feet. Okay. So now we're doing she again. So I would do the tight t-shirt didn't leave much to the imagination. Hugging her every curve and the neckline plunging low enough to be distracting. I'm assuming it's a romance because it's new adult. Most new adult is romance. So they did not specify. So feel free to totally ignore these, Joe. So I do like that. Gwenna. Let's see. Her hair was newly colored to a neon purple. There was where'd it go? So we need to add a little bit of a descriptor of what the braids would look like for those who don't know. So I went through, and these are Legolas braids. These are Tariel braids. And these are Elrond braids. So I'm assuming it's like these ones. So thin, delicate braids that interweave. And in thin, delicate braids that interwove. Like an elves from Lord of the Rings movies. Okay. So, quit checking me out and let's go. I'm freezing out here. We don't know how she's taking the analysis of what she looks like. So let's do, is she appreciative of it? Is it awkward for her? She grins about missing the view later on. So you could add something there, but let's leave it for now. If it did, you had missed the view. She grinned at me. Since this is a comma, this is all one sentence. Okay. So this part feels like this belongs down with this. So it would be one paragraph. Because this is the main character and this is her doing stuff up here. Let's see. Thank you for telling us the artist of the song, because I don't remember that line. We loaded the gear, since we have now said what the gear was above, as quickly as we could. The cold knit at us until we were done. Let's see. Okay, so also we got like 2 minutes left on this one. how's he actually feeling about her not covering up? Rolls his eyes. So it would be nice to have a little bit of internal dialogue here. Good point. I want to have this as Heather, so we know exactly who's talking. Okay. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to put add internal thought here. How does this really make him feel? So let's add some more senses. So the cold nipped at us, numbing our fingertips. Oh. Okay. Come on. Okay. So the cold nipped at us. Numbing our fingers by the time we were done. It didn't take long to jump in the passenger seat. The venue was a 30-minute drive. So this is where I would add a descriptor about the city. Is it busy? Is it deserted? Where are we? Roy. So okay. So that's what I would do for a first pass on Joe's. Yep. Okay. So on to the next one real quick. Or I guess I should read the whole thing. I had my stuff down by the road. Hang on. There we go. Okay. He's outside now. Okay. MC is a drummer. They're in a band. Heather's his best friend, and he's been in love with her for years. She knows and is keeping him in a will they, won't they, so she can keep him wrapped up. Aha. Okay. So, sounds good. So this would not be guitars. I'll just keep it for now because we're running out of time per thing. But it says, I had my stuff down by the road when Heather showed up in her rust bucket of a van. She hopped out and came around to help me load my precious guitars and bulky amps. She was stunning. A short skirt showed off her excellent legs that I wished I had felt wrapped around me at least once, with Doc Martens covering her feet. The tight t-shirt didn't leave much to the imagination, hugging her every curve and the neckline plunging low enough to be distracting. Her hair was newly colored a neon purple and in thin, delicate braids that interwove like an elf's from the Lord of the Rings movies. Quit checking me out and let's go. I'm fucking freezing out here. You could have worn a coat, I said. If I did, you would have missed the view. Heather grinned at me. I'm so hot that my motherfucking fire truck's on fire, homie. I rolled my eyes. And I'm so sick I got ambulances pulling over me and shit, I said, quoting the same Eminem song. And then add an interior thought. We loaded the gear as quickly as we could. The cold nipped at us, numbing our fingertips by the time we were done. I didn't take long to jump in the passenger seat. The venue was a 30-minute drive across the busy city, and Heather stepped on the gas as we hit the road. Okay. -40. Oh. So that's more than nipped. It'd be biting. Cold bit at us. Okay. Anyway. So the next one is from Gwenna. So this is adult fantasy. And it says, blinking past blurry eyes, he shouted, sprinting to a tackle that drove Hallam back 1 step, 2, and down into the creek. Freezing water drove icy pain through Arthur's already aching joints, his world turning fast as Hallam rolled on top. Large hand flashed in Arthur's vision before the water consumed him. Creek rocks bit into his skull and his back as the cold cut through his clothes. Arthur reached up, clawing at the arms that held him down. His vision spotted as he blinked through the current, chest burning. Hallam's grip at his collar was firm, pinning him down. The quartermaster was flushed red, scowling as Arthur beat into him. Each straining blow against the towering man was useless. Hallam's shirt tore between Arthur's fingers, skin unbreakable. The spots grew darker, bigger. A flash of color later, and the weight on Arthur eased, and he surged up at the opportunity. The air seared his lungs, and his head spun. In a world of leaning colors, Hallam kicked up mud as his feet scrambled for purchase. Lance's arm was wrapped around his neck in a lock, both of them panting and purple as they vied for control. So, first up, I love the 1-2-step in paragraph 1. We got some excellent senses of touch, pain, and sight. We have a nice, punchy, bigger. And so I love this excerpt so much. My notes are not very many. So let's add some sense of smell with the air searing his lungs. Sound with the splashing of the water and shifting rock and heavy breathing, gasping, and taste of the water hindering their breathing. Sometimes it's nice to let their internal world let us into their internal world a little to see how the MC is planning their attack and pining for what the stakes are. But in this one, it seems to be a spur of the moment fight or flight, so not applicable. How does Arthur feel about Hallam? It should tint the descriptions. Is this a betrayal from a best friend, an acquaintance? Let us know the depth of emotional pain as well as physical pain. How does Arthur feel about Lance? We have summary words like useless instead of dramatizing it with more illustrative phrases. So yeah. So if we want to add, so Gwenna, I know you're in the chat. Are Arthur and Hallam friends, or were they friends before this fight went down? Or is this just an acquaintance? Because at this point, it could just be a random rogue thief on the side of the road that he happens to know because he's famous. So, is he a friend, Gwenna? Hallam is Lance's teacher, and Arthur has a great amount of respect for him. Okay. And is this a betrayal or is this a training? Because let's see, they are more acquaintances. Okay. Betrayal. Heck yes. Okay. So let's do, blinking past blurry eyes, he shouted, sprinting into a tackle that drove Hallam back 1 step, 2 step down the creek. So I would add freezing, but we have it right here. So that's good. Freezing water drove icy pain through Arthur's already aching joints. The world turning fast as Hallam rolled on top. spell. So the freezing water splashed. Maybe something bigger than splashed. Erupted around them, driving icy pain through Arthur's already aching joints, his world turning fast as Hallam rolled on top. So since this is betrayal, maybe we should have some internal dialogue or thoughts. Because this is a betrayal. Let's see. Just really short. He doesn't have time for full-on sentence slots. Large hands flashed in Arthur's visions before the murky water consumed him. Creek rocks bit into his skull and his back as the cold cut through his clothes. So I don't know if I would say in a mighty roar. Like, I'm trying to get the sound in there of water kersplooshing mightily. I don't know how to not say kersploosh. Let's see. Maybe just explosion. Let's see. Icy pain through Arthur's already aching joints, his world turning fast. So we got the discombobulation going. Large hand flashed in Arthur's vision before the murky water consumed him. Silt. Not silk, silt. And what would have a taste besides algae in the water? Silt and grit seeping through my clenched teeth. Not my. This is Arthur. Okay. Okay. Large hands flashed in Arthur's vision before the murky water consumed him. Silt and grit seeping through his clenched teeth with acrid tang. Creek rocks bit into his skull and his back as the cold cut through his clothes. His now heavy clothes because they're soaked. I'm assuming they weren't excessively heavy before. Arthur reached up, clawing at the arms that held him down. If this is a guy that's a teacher in a fantasy, I would guessing he has massive arms. Experienced arms? I don't know. Trained. The massive trained arms that held him down. His vision spotted as he blinked through the current, chest burning. Hallam's grip on his collar was firm, pinning him down. The quartermaster was flushed red, scowling as Arthur beat into him. Okay. 30. Okay. The quartermaster was flushed red, scowling as Arthur beat into him. I'm wondering if I should say anything about rage. So the quartermaster was flushed red. His rage made physical. Something like that. Scowling as Arthur beat into him. Over and over. Each straining blow against the towering man was useless. So here is where I'm going to change useless, because that's kind of just summarizing what's happening, and let's keep the dramatization of it going. So each straining blow against the towering man did not move his centered weight nor draw upon his humanity. I don't know. I'm just making this up. What? Let's see. Each straining blow against the towering man did not move his centered weight nor draw upon his humanity. His compassion. Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to think of a way to say that they've known each other in the past. So he's trying to draw on the compassion, on the camaraderie that they've had before. And let's see. The dregs of his feeling compassion. Maybe not proven. Just dregs of his compassion. Hallam's shirt tore between Arthur's fingers, skin unbreakable. So here's where I would like to know, how hard is Arthur fighting back? Is it like a wool shirt, or is it a thin linen shirt? So I would add a descriptor. There we go. So if Arthur is more powerful, maybe swap out linen shirt for something more sturdy. And then the swap grew bigger, darker, bigger. Love it. A flash of color later, and the weight on Arthur eased, and he surged up at the opportunity. So, since Lance comes in and gets him in a headlock, that they're vying for control, I wouldn't use the word eased, because it sounds like he is easing him off of him, but I think it would be more impactful to have it be like a sudden boof, he's off, I'm up, air, just to keep up the pace, because it's a flash of color later, and the weight on Arthur vanished. He surged up. Is there a deity that he prays to? At like this God-given opportunity, or at the Is there something else you can use here to thread in a little bit of the religion, or yeah, let's see. And here it's a cold creek, but is it a cold day? So so what temperature is the air? So icy air seared his lungs as his head spun. In a world of I love leaning colors. Hallam kicked up mud as his feet scrambled for purchase. Are we still in the middle of the lake? Or has he been tackled towards shore? So that would help us ground us in the space. Lance's arm was wrapped around his neck in a lock, both of them panting and purple as they vied for control. Okay. Okay. So here's the altered version. Blinking past blurry eyes, he shouted, sprinting into a tackle that drove Hallam back one step, two, and down into the creek. Freezing water erupted around them in a mighty explosion, driving icy pain through Arthur's already aching joints, his world turning fast as Hallam rolled on top. What? Why? Large hands flashed in Arthur's vision before the murky water consumed him, silt and grit seeping through his clenched teeth with acrid tang. Creek rocks bit into his skull and his back as the cold cut through his now heavy clothes. Arthur reached up. Let's get this in another paragraph just so it's a little easier. Okay. No. Okay. Arthur reached up, clawing at the massive, trained arms that held him down. His vision spotted as he blinked through the current, chest burning. Hallam's grip at his collar was firm, pinning him down. The quartermaster was flush red, his rage made physical, scowling as Arthur beat into him over and over. Each straining blow against the towering man did not move his centered weight nor draw upon his dregs of compassion. Hallam's linen shirt tore between Arthur's fingers, skin unbreakable. His brows grew darker, bigger. A flash of color later, and the weight of Arthur vanished, and he surged up at the opportunity. Icy air seared his lungs as his head spun. In a world of leaning colors, Hallam kicked up mud as his feet scrambled for purchase along the shore. Lance's arm was wrapped around his neck in a lock, both of them panting and purple as they vied for control. Yay! And we have time for one more. So this is Brie Monomo, and this is an adult fantasy. I do have notes on the other ones, on some of the other ones. So I will scroll through those after this one, and then we'll do Q&A. Okay. So the great oak doors opened. Coventina strode down the long entrance hall as if she had not been gone for over 2 decades. Time had not altered the great hall. One long black carpet, framed by evenly spaced columns, established the path to walk. It was as she remembered it, but lacked its former opulence and grandeur. The faded garnet tapestries on the walls and dusty chandeliers overhead were a testament to the monarch's ever-fading wealth. Coventina withheld a pleased smirk as she made her way closer to the king and queen, who sat waiting at the end on a raised dais. 2 men flanked her on either side. Her appointed husband-to-be, Siam, tall and lithe with light hair, whose eyes kept wandering to Aegon, her stocky and trained guard, who resisted the temptation to return the gaze. Coventina willed Siam to steady himself, lest he ruin the plan that was months and many sleepless nights in the making. The guards posted between the columns bowed as she walked, honoring their heir returning home. She gave them a casual wave of her hands as she passed, acknowledging them without taking too much of an interest. Okay. So I love the haughtiness of the main character and the lackluster opulence of the hall and its rulers. She seems certain that she'll return it to glory and riches once she rules with her intended. And I love the description of the tapestries as faded and the chandeliers as dusty. So my notes were, is the raised dais a relic of former glory that they tainted with their very presence? Is she going to replace it too, or roll back the curtain of time and restore the seat of physical power, the power physically as well? Descriptions of the lighting can help make the visual more atmospheric. Have dust dance in the motes of light. Does it smell musty of old incense? Are we in the era of candles, gas lamps, electricity? Could be hinted at with a description of the chandelier. What is Coventina wearing? Is she coming in all her heiress glory or trying to appear amenable and meek under the radar? Is she more opulent than the current rulers? The guards are showing her deference despite her not having taken the throne yet. Would she be so casual with the wave, taking them for granted? Or is it an air of casualness on the outside while on the inside she is rejoicing? So it seems to be head hopping with the inner insight on Cyan being tempted to look. So yeah, I liked for film and TV, and so lighting is my jam for my day job. So what I would love is to start painting some lighting into this scene. Are we in the daytime? Are we at nighttime with moonlight? Are there I love having dust dance in the motes of light, especially if it is casting sharp slices of light. So yeah. Okay. Come back. Okay. So the great oak doors opened. An air of must escaping in their wake. So we get the old, we get a hint of the old before she's even in there. Clementina strode down the long entrance hall as if she had not been gone for over 2 decades. So the entrance hall is the Great Hall, but is also the throne room. So, maybe I'm assuming you have described it earlier as well of the layout of the castle. If they're trying to be sneaky and have a plan, they may have like the blueprints. So I would be careful with entrance hall, great hall, but also is the throne room. So yes. Time had not altered the great hall. One long black carpet framed by evenly spaced, ornately carved columns established the path to walk. One more minute. Okay, the faded garnet tapestries on the walls and the dusty chandeliers overhead were illuminated in gashes of light. Maybe in gashes of light, maybe. I don't know if that's too anthropomorphic for you, but yeah. A testament to the monarch's ever-fading wealth. And here I would add an internal thought. squandered, like their bloodline or something. Coventina withheld a pleased smirk as she made her way closer to the king and queen, who sat waiting at the end of the raised dais. Okay, so I'm thinking of having the king and queen resplendent in so I don't know if you've seen Crimson Peak, but they describe the baronet and his sister's clothing as very expensive, but from like the decade or two prior, and finally mended. So it is a showing that they did once have money and power, and they're trying to hang on to that image. So Constantina withheld a pleased smirk as she made her way closer to the king and queen, who sat waiting in fine regalia. I don't know if it's regalia that you want to say, or dresses. I'm not sure what they're wearing. Sat in fine. Closer, Clementina looked, the more finely, expertly hidden The closer Coventina looked, the more expertly hidden repairs in the fabric. The more the expertly hidden repairs in the fabrics became obvious. Okay. So I'm assuming it's fabrics and not like armor. So do with this what you will. And alas, we're out of time. So yes. Let me look for some questions real quick. If I don't see yours, feel free to post it again. If there are no questions, I will go through my notes on the other, snippets. Okay. Scrolling. Okay, I know you write short drabbles in fiction. How do you make sure the story is descriptive when you have limited words? So for me, with my 100-word drabbles and stuff, I start with an opening image. What would I love to describe? And so I build my world through a descriptive world, and then add the characters into it and what they do and how they transform in the world. So what I definitely recommend is writing things through the lens of the character, how the character sees the things. So while you are describing the creek or the hall, use words that the character themselves would use to describe it, so that it's doing two things at once. We're getting to know the character and we're getting to know the setting. So is the opulence setting their teeth on edge, or is the opulence making them be like, you used to be much richer than this? Like, what's up with you? So yeah. So make sure all your descriptions are doing double time for drabbles. Let's see. Scrolling. Okay. How bad is head hopping and how do we avoid it? So for me, editors help. I'm no expert, but for me, head hopping is when we are in one person's POV and then we get like an inner thought of somebody else that our character is not a mind reader and so should not know. So basically having them observe the character and speculate what they might be thinking can be helpful. And then if you are switching POVs, when you do switch to that person's POV, they can think what they actually thought if it's different than what the other POV was assuming. So that could be definitely helpful for if somebody is putting on a facade. So they're acting one way in public, but they're secretly thinking something else. So the first POV would just see the facade and assume what the facade is thinking and feeling. And so, yeah, just having them observe and don't italicize it, because that is definitely an inner thought of somebody else, unless you're italicizing the inner thought of the POV character. Yeah. Anyway, yes. How do you know so much description is too much or too little? If there is so much description that you forget why, like, so too much description will pull you out. It should be interspersed with dialogue or action, things like that. It should reveal character. It should, there are many different ways that you can implement description in your prose. So if you get bored while you're reading it, if you start skimming, way too much. If somebody is talking and you have no idea where they are, too little. I like to utilize the 5 senses when I write so that we are getting description of what's around them, what they're touching, what they're seeing, what they're feeling, and sometimes what they can smell and what they can taste and what they can hear. And so as you integrate those senses into your description, it's not just, here's something out here that you should know about. It's interacting with the character. So the character is noticing it, the character cares about it, so we should care about it. So using the senses is an excellent way to bring us in with the character. Let's see. What of the 5 senses pop out to you the most when reading or writing? I have a soft spot for sound onomatopoeia. So when you read the story out loud, you hear the onomatopoeia as well as the character hearing it. So you hear the crack, the pop, the things like that. So I will write those out in mine. So it's personal preference. Yeah. So yeah. The most common ones, I believe, are sight and touch. So when you can bring in taste and when you can bring in smell, those can definitely make it a little bit more immersive. Yeah, 6-minute notice. All righty. So I believe it is about time to wrap up. So just for funsies, let me bring up my document one last time and we will read through so Ari, these were your notes. We don't have time to read, But your notes are, I love the unique lighting in the scenario. Lean into it. Great location for a meet cute. Got some nice visuals like the stiff dollar bills being an extension of himself. Good job on showing he's reserved without outright stating it. Also like the condensation on the glass and the ring it leaves. My notes were, what do the colors and shapes of the colors do to Logan's skin and eyes, etc.? Maybe connected to the romantic tension between them, especially if there's like gobos on the lighting where there are stars. There's literal stars in their eyes. Quite a few sentences start with he in the second paragraph. Was the main character able to see which drag queen caught Logan's eye, if any? What were they wearing, / how was their makeup? If none in particular, does the main character question why Logan is there? Or are the main character and Logan both just there for fun? But Logan seems to be super reserved and not open about their enjoyment. Does the main character long for contact with Logan during the meet cute, for them to be able to clink their glasses together, to feel the condensation on Logan's fingertips, to read his mind for psychological intimacy? The ring is the only thing left by Logan at the meet cute, so the condensation ring on the bar table. Something easily wiped away by a third party. Did that leave the main character longing and sad? What is the main character drinking at the drag show? How does it taste? Does it lower their inhibitions so they openly stare at Logan for a while, memorizing how the lighting dances across them and what reflects in their eyes and how their clothes fit in all the right places? For Montana, I said, yay, lighting as mentioned. We've got the sense of touch and smell and sight. Definitely feels fantasy and adult. Nice idea to stand in the smoke to overpower one smell with another. I've never thought of that. The fragment in the second paragraph feels stilted since it's not directly connected to the previous sentence, because the previous sentence is talking about stuff to pack and not the actual house itself. How does he feel about Old Man Salvan? Does it make him sad to tear down the building, or is it good riddance? And switch up, he swung, he ran his brow with other sentence openers. And that's all I got time for. I'm so sorry, Joanne. I didn't get to critique yours yet. But yeah. And of course, I left the comment up the whole time. Yeah. So thank you all so much for being here. See you around. And I need to find my outro. Bye.